This video is brought to you by Omaze. Check out Omaze and their giveaways at omaze.com/simplehistory. Omaze gives away one-of-a-kind prizes and experiences while donating money to chosen charities all across the world. Their sustainable approach to fundraising means that nonprofits can spend less time and money raising funds and instead focus on serving the needs of their communities. Donate $10 and you're entered for the chance to win a Tesla Model S Plaid. Be among the first to own the fastest and most advanced production car ever made. The future is here and you're in the driver's seat. With a nearly 400-mile range, a top speed of 200 miles an hour, and an acceleration speed of 0 to 60 in 1.9 seconds, you're completely road trip ready. This donation supports Reverb, a charity that partners with musicians, festivals, and venues to green their concerts while engaging fans face-to-face at shows to take environmental and social action. To potentially win a Tesla Model S Plaid and support Reverb's great cause, go to omaze.com/simplehistory. Insane penal colony escape attempts. 19th century Australia. Being a convict at an Australian penal colony in the 19th century was a harrowing experience. Many of the convicts didn't even make it to the colony in the first place due to the outbreak of disease or the wreckage of their ship on the treacherous 6-month journey from Britain. Once there, convicts often came up with imaginative and sometimes desperate ways to try to escape the harsh conditions of the penal colonies. But escaping was a matter the convicts did not take lightly, as the price of failure was brutal indeed. For a failed escape meant years added onto the offender's prison sentence. In one particular prison run by a governor who was known for his cruelty, it even meant 100 lashes from the cat-o'-nine-tails whip and 6 months in solitary confinement. Many of those that did escape often continued their life of crime and lived out in the wilderness, commonly referred to as the bush. Here they survived by stealing livestock such as sheep and cattle, as well as robbing travelers or caravans, much like the highwaymen did back in Old England. These convicts were referred to as bushrangers, but this term was later adopted to refer to anyone that lived out in the bush and carried out criminal practices such as armed robbery. In the year 1843, one bold convict escaped from one of the penal colonies in a stolen bathtub, having amazingly snuck the tub down to the beach in broad daylight without drawing any suspicion from the guards. He was last seen paddling out to sea. It's not known if this convict made it to freedom, as he was never seen or heard from again. Another desperate convict named George Billy Hunt attempted to disguise himself as a kangaroo in order to get past the guards. He did this by killing a kangaroo and skinning it in a remarkable feat of ingenuity. Despite managing to create a very convincing disguise, Hunt's plan failed when one of the bored and hungry guards decided to use the passing kangaroo as target practice, forcing the supposed kangaroo to reveal its true identity and surrender. Hunt allegedly received 150 lashes as punishment. Then there was the unique case of a convict known as Moondyne Joe, a Welsh-born trapper who was transported to a penal colony in 1853. Over the next 20 years, he was in and out of prison as a repeat offender for a variety of crimes, particularly stealing livestock. He also, much to the annoyance of the authorities, kept on escaping. Such was their frustration with him that they built him a special cell reinforced with wood paneling and extra long nails in the hopes of making it escape-proof. Amusingly, Joe nevertheless did manage to escape, not from the cell, but from the courtyard where he was doing hard labor breaking rocks. Although under constant watch from the guards, he managed to create a pile of broken rocks by the courtyard wall that obscured him from the waist down. This allowed him, unnoticed, to smash a hole in the wall and escape. He was recaptured 2 years later, but was eventually released in 1871. Joe never quite shook off his criminal tendencies, however, and continued his cycle of imprisonment and release well into his later life. During these years, his mental health suffered a steady decline, and he would ultimately die in the year 1900 at the age of 72 in Fremantle Lunatic Asylum. Next is the case of Frederick Woodsworth Ward, a convicted horse thief who was sent to Cockatoo Island Penal Colony. Cockatoo Island could best be compared to what we would consider a maximum security prison today. In fact, it bore a particular similarity to Alcatraz on the basis of its location amidst the perilous straits of Sydney Harbor. Nevertheless, in 1863, Ward managed to slip away from his chain gang and with an accomplice made the swim to freedom, safely reaching the Australian mainland. Evading the authorities, Ward went on to continue his life of crime, using the nickname Captain Thunderbolt, and portrayed himself as a gentleman bushranger. The story of his escape from Cockatoo Island became much more romanticized than the actual reality, with fictitious elements of the escape no doubt circulated by Ward himself. The rather embellished version of the story was that Ward's girlfriend, Mary Ann Bugg, had swam across the shark-infested channel between the mainland and the island to bring her beloved a file so he could remove his chains. It was then said that the pair swam back across the channel and escaped into the bush to live a life of crime together. There are several reasons this version can't be true, however. Firstly, Ward was sent to Cockatoo Island for a parole violation and was therefore not required to wear chains. At the time of Ward's escape, Bugg was also known to have been working some distance away to help provide for her family, meaning she was nowhere in the vicinity of the island on that particular day. Additionally, in the weeks immediately following his escape, Ward was known to have pulled heists with his fellow escapee, Frederick, with no accounts suggesting that Bugg was involved in this early phase of Ward's bushranging career. Finding his feet in the bush, Ward went on to carry out a 7-year crime spree before ultimately being killed in a gunfight with the police in 1870. It is said at the time of his death, Ward was too drunk to even shoot straight, having grown particularly fond of Australian inns during the latter years of his life. Even over a century later, and a callback to Australia's formative years, convicts are still breaking out of prison in the most imaginative and determined of ways. One such incident occurred in the year 1999, when a career criminal named John Killick was broken out of a high-security prison by his Russian girlfriend, Lucy Dudko, in a hijacked helicopter. Having been lifted from the Silverwater jail exercise yard, Killick managed to remain on the run with Dudko for 45 days before being captured, in what was truly a bizarre episode of Australian criminal history.